I adore Who Killed Captain Alex. This film has no motive other than to entertain. It's passionate and pure, and you can tell that everyone involved had such a wonderful time making it. And for a movie made for pennies, filmed while demonstrations and strikes were happening all over the country, with unreliable power that could turn on for days or even weeks at a time, made on a PC that the director built himself with cheap parts, and by a man that has never even been in a movie theater before.
Have you ever been to a movie theater?
Come on.
Have you ever been to a movie theater?
Me?
Yeah.
No. No.
I've got to say, the entire team at Wakaliwood sure knows how to make one kick-ass fucking movie. Look, I know it's easy to make fun of because it is silly, but the best part of all of this is that the movie knows it. The movie is relishing in its own ridiculousness and is laughing along with you. It's the purest art form you can possibly get. This was never intended to be seen by anyone outside of their village. They never thought it was possible. They usually sell their movies as door-to-door salesmen. They don't even use the internet. That's the level we're talking about here. I mean, for God's sake, some of these people literally feared for their life while filming because of what was going on in their country at the time. And yet, they still did it anyway, and they're still making movies to this day. In a landscape where the business side of movies is becoming more and more mechanical, cynical, predictable, and vapid, something like this is such a great reminder of why we love movies. Sometimes stripping the art form down into the most bare-bones basic essentials can really make you appreciate it in a whole new way. Sure, technically you could pick apart basically every aspect of the movie until the sun sets, but what's the point? This film succeeds in every way it intended, and I commend everyone involved for staying so true to their intent and passion. If you think that praising this movie is unfair when I've railed on things like The Amazing Bulk or Birdemic, or any number of these similarly Z-rated movies, then you kind of missed the point I've tried to get across over and over again in this video. The context and intent are what's important. The context of a film being made in the slums of Kampala is an impressive achievement in and of itself, and its intent of being a ridiculous action movie is achieved perfectly. Instead of this movie being great for all the wrong reasons, it's great for all the right reasons. And for that, Who Killed Captain Alex gets the top spot for the best movie I've seen in the series so far. It deserves it. And if you're someone who's been saying all their life, wow, I'd really love to make a movie, I mean, Who Killed Captain Alex really does highlight why you have absolutely no excuse not to just do it. If these people with no money, infrequent electricity, and barely any clean water can get a film made, then why can't you? Hey, make sure you visit the Wakaliwood website where you can watch Who Killed Captain Alex for free, by the way, if you don't want to pay anything. And why not consider picking up a t-shirt or a signed DVD copy? I think creativity like this should be supported as much as possible. I got myself one of the t-shirts, it's fucking great, and of course the signed DVD. Let's send them some actual proper support. We rag on so many truly terrible movies on the show. It might be nice for a change to send a little positivity someone's way. And up next in the search for the worst is Left Behind. You've probably never heard of this, but I've seen this film before, and it is so wonderfully bad. This will be Nicolas Cage's first entry into the search for the worst, and I can't wait. I sounded sarcastic, but I really cannot wait. Left Behind is an insulting, ridiculous mess that makes me want to punch all of you listening in the face. The plot sounds amazing. A small group of survivors are left behind after millions of people suddenly vanish and the world is plunged into chaos and destruction. Let alone that Nicolas Cage is our handsome leading man here. But when the first review on IMDb is headlined with 1 star, I want my money back, you have to wonder just what went wrong here. Turns out this movie is a remake of a film which was based on a book of the same name from the year 2000, except the movie is added after Left Behind. And that one starred Kirk Cameron. Yes, Kirk Cameron, The Alien. I think if you've been following the search for the worst for a while now, you can probably guess where this is going. Kirk Cameron likes to star in Christian propaganda, basically. And that's what this film effectively is. Terrible, awful Christian propaganda. Except instead of an alien being the main character, it's a crazy, bird-looking man who always looks confused as to where he actually is. So it turns out Nicolas Cage decided to do this movie because his brother is a pastor and said he should be in it, because it would be great for, you know, the Christians and whatnot. It also helps that he was paid $3 million for 10 days of work. That's $300,000 a day. Wow. I'm going to explain to you why this film sucks now. No time is wasted as the film opens with one of the main characters being established as coming home from somewhere. You know what, to make this easier, I'm going to reference every character in terms of how they're related to Nicolas Cage in this movie. So this blonde woman is Nicolas Cage's daughter. She's informed by Nicolas Cage's wife that Nicolas Cage can't make it to Nicolas Cage's surprise birthday party because he's working. Be prepared to hear Nicolas Cage dozens of times in this video until I get bored and give up. Wow, I wonder if Nicolas Cage was actually there for that totally not photoshopped family portrait. Some famous journalist shows up who's the love interest for Nicolas Cage's daughter, kind of, sort of, but not really, a little bit. I don't know. He signs a bunch of autographs and I'm left wondering how weird and dated this situation seems. Since when does anyone, like, recognize a journalist? An investigative journalist? Like, what?
Investigative journalist. Remember?
Some crazy woman asks if he reads the Bible. Then when he says no, she quotes the Bible at him.
Well, Matthew 24 verse 7 says that there shall be famines, pestilence, and earthquakes in diverse places.
I only say she's crazy because this is a very strange question to ask somebody out of the blue. Nicolas Cage's daughter butts in with a completely reasonable retort to the religious scripture, and they have an edgy little argument about why God is real or not real.
Honey, God knows everything. So then why doesn't he do something?
Obviously, this is supposed to be the moment where we all gasp and say, "You dumb bitch, how dare you say that about God? I damn you to hell unless you think what I think." But I expect most people, that's including rational Christians, will not be victim to the narrative this film was trying to push onto its audience. Because it's stupid, incredibly ham-fisted.
Sorry.
Finally, Nicolas Cage shows up in a suitably slimy scene where he slips off his wedding ring so he can go flirt with his hot air hostess. His character's name is Rayford Steele. What is he, a G.I. Joe? Back to journalist who totally wants to pound Nicolas Cage's daughter. He describes the religious lady she just had a debate with as being nutty lady. And she explains that her mum is so religious that she thinks she's wacko.
I've decided to go wacko.
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 Again, setting up everyone for the "see, I told you you should be a Christian" moment. Subtlety and Nicolas Cage are two words that don't belong in the same sentence, and it's pretty wonderful. For some reason, Nicolas Cage acknowledges the journalist by name.
You're Cameron Williams. Holy cow.
And I have no idea why. I guess because he's so famous, and that he's a main character in the story. I don't know why they make such a big deal out of everyone recognizing him, because, I mean, the fact that he's a journalist isn't exactly that important to the story. I guess it's either because that's what he was in the book, or because it's the only excuse they could think of for him having a DSLR camera later in the plane sequences.
How's school?
It's good.
The entire first sequence is just scene after scene of the script purposefully making fun of Christians for being crazy. It's all very silly, heavy-handed, cheesy, flat, and most of all,
Burning my leg.
boring. Unless Nicolas Cage is there, he is a darling. The journalist and Cage's daughter part ways so we can get onto the plane heading to London that's being piloted by Nicolas Cage. Did I mention that Nicolas Cage is in this movie? The film really struggles to come up with reasons for characters to talk to each other and interact. Like when the journalist man sits down on the plane, this guy asks him if he got Nicolas Cage's daughter's number, despite him never meeting him before and explaining that he was watching them and saw what they were doing. Like a creepy weirdo. And he just responds as if that's like a normal thing. Hey, I was spying on you.
Only as a thank you though for hooking the brother up with first class.
Huh?
I know you. Look, George. It's Frank Sinatra.
What's that?
It's Frank. Oh!
If I'm going to give credit anywhere, it's that if these ridiculous Christian movies are good at anything, it's being horribly unfunny. Take note of this guy who's very clearly a Muslim. He'll be important later. There's also this guy who's a character actor you'll probably recognize from movies like Pirates of the Caribbean. I don't know what the correct nomenclature for people of his size is anymore, so I'm just going to call him Mini-Me. I'm sure that won't offend anyone. I've never even seen Austin Powers. The plane finally takes off and we're still waiting for people to be left behind. And then we all yawn because where's the apocalypse already? I want death and destruction. I was promised death, chaos and destruction, goddammit. Nicolas Cage's daughter arrives home and is greeted by her much younger brother who she has a gift for.
The brand new baseball glove that I've been asking for. No way.
We see our first Bible because remember to be a Christian, everybody. There's a bizarre scene back on the plane where these two characters we've never been introduced to before have a conversation about how a plane is secretly being invented by the Defense Department that can fly 300 passengers from New York to London in 6 minutes. The Asian guy then says it's probably been reverse engineered from alien technology.
Shots, please.
This is only loosely mentioned here to be funny and also so it can be referenced again later and be equally unfunny. I don't have much else to say except why was this in the movie? I think it was supposed to be really funny and wacky, but I just find it mostly confusing. You could take this scene out of the movie and absolutely nothing would change at all. There's some tension between Nicolas Cage's wife who's religious and the atheist Nicolas Cage's daughter. I've made this so needlessly confusing. And then she leaves in a huff. Mini-Me has a go at the Muslim who kindly offers him some help with his luggage. Then he has a conversation with the kid sitting opposite him about American football.
Your dad plays ball on TV.
Go Jets.
I'm just as confused as you are. I'm relatively sure all of these random scenes of passengers in the plane are the dictionary definition of filler. I really don't think this film would have enough content without these scenes to actually be classed as a movie. It would be like 25 minutes long. Nick Cage's daughter takes her brother to the mall, and after one more conversation about why their mum is crazy for being religious,
Mom's crazy.
it finally happens. 30 minutes in and everyone who's not about Christian is left behind. There's an entertaining few minutes where everyone goes crazy because all the Christians disappeared, and for some reason a bunch of children's clothing just kind of falls from the sky or something. It's never really explained. Of course, at this point in the movie, we're not supposed to know that it was just the Christians who were taken away, but it's pretty flipping obvious. Wait, why did I just filter myself? This isn't a kid's show. You'd have to be a blind, retarded, fucking indoctrinated hyper-Christian to not notice this. Too far? While Nicolas Cage was out of the cockpit chilling with the passengers, the co-pilot was beamed up to heaven so the plane starts to plummet. Why the pilot would leave the cabin, I have no idea. Luckily, Nicolas Cage saves the day because he's an epic hero. So now is really when the film either becomes even more unsufferable or 20 times more entertaining to you because it's just so stupid. This material has such little faith in the human race that after all worthy Christians are miraculously beamed off Earth, it immediately descends into utter chaos. Murder, shoplifting, anger, rage. Within seconds, society seems to be in complete ruin. Now, I know there are a lot of Christians in the world. I believe they make up just under a third of the entire population of planet Earth. But there would still be, you know, like 2/3 of the planet left, if not more, because in this universe only the worthy Christians seem to have been taken away. How that is decided by God, we'll discuss later. I'd like to think that our first reaction to this happening in the real world wouldn't be to immediately murder each other and steal TVs from shops, but maybe that's just me being too optimistic. Anyway, the journalist pulls out his camera and starts documenting this crazy event because they somewhat understandably think it has only happened to them on this one plane. But for some reason, a group of angry passengers tries to storm their way into the pilot's cabin, even though I'm not sure how he would know anything more than any of them. He was just flying the fucking plane. Cage flips down the oxygen masks and says everyone needs to sit down through the intercom. They just kind of do it. Let's quickly talk about the way this film is edited. You've probably noticed that the two different stories